Hi, it's Clark on Temptress. Today we're going to take a look at this. It's the PUP 320 amp hour 12 volt RV battery. Maybe not just for RVs. Let's take a look at it. Spoiler alert, first battery in a while I really like. Okay, there's this company called PUPVWMHB. Horrible name because it's unpronounceable, but I'm just going to call it PUP. They've been around for a while. I've reviewed their offerings probably a couple of years ago. The batteries themselves, at least in the past, were made by the same company that makes Elefast, which is like on the list of all my batteries, kind of still high up there. The Elefast company themselves has a very bad reputation for getting back to customers. So, since of the same price and probably the same battery, this might be the company to buy from. Well, I haven't seen what they've offered in a long time, and they sent me a request. Didn't find it right away because they sent it to an old email since, you know, we have a relationship, as it were, and asked me if I would review this new offering of theirs. So I said, sure, what the heck. It's been a while since I've done a cheaper battery. I've kind of been doing these high-end battery reviews, and I've been very disappointed, but more about that later. Well, this battery arrived, and what do we know about it? Well, they referred to it as the 12V320AH-RV battery. In other words, 12 volt, 320 amp hours for RVs. It's $479 currently on Amazon. I'll have a link down below, and of course, there'll always be a link in my leaderboard. The leaderboard is like a history of all the batteries I've reviewed on a spreadsheet, so you can see them all. Well, it's not your average battery. I mean, it is inside. It's a lithium iron phosphate. It's got 320 amp hour cells in it. It's put together okay. I have no problem with it. I popped it open earlier to take a look when I did my analysis. The one thing that may or may not make it good for a boat, well, kind of doesn't really, is that. The case is steel. Now, if you have an RV or a freshwater boat, probably not even an issue. If you have a boat in saltwater, you got to decide. I mean, it's steel. It's going to rust. The fasteners are stainless, but the case itself is steel. You keep it painted though, and maybe spray it with some wax, and that should be fine really as far as rust. You shouldn't be storing this thing under salt water, right? This is your battery. And we all have an engine made out of steel on our boat, and they do okay for a long time. So maybe it won't be super pretty in 10 years. It's a thought. Also, it doesn't seal like seal. Don't dunk this underwater. The metal is just pressed together with screws, which makes it easy to get into, but makes it really difficult to keep the water out. Does the water have to be kept out? I mean, liquid water, of course, has to be kept out, but humidity, I don't know. There's nothing in there that isn't like inside other electronics you have. There's a circuit board, and the prismatic cells themselves are all sealed up on their own. So I don't know if there's a really important reason to have it be sealed. There's actually a reason on a boat to let things vent that have electronics in them. For example, those Pelican boxes, those absolutely super waterproof, military-looking, wonderful boxes, and the rip-offs. Like, I buy the rip-offs because it's just plastic after all, cheaper. I think that's called Apache at Harbor Freight. A lot of people I know would put their laptop computers in them and seal them up at night. Well, it's a real bad idea. Because during the day, you open it up, and that warm, humid air is in there getting trapped in with it. And you close it down, and then at night, it gets cooler. So if that humid air was already right on the edge of condensation, like it is in the tropics, and you seal it up so no more moisture can leave, but you lower the temperature, well, it condenses. And it condenses onto the electronic circuit boards, and then, they corrode. I find that laptops last a fine long time if let just being out on the countertop, exposed. But you seal them up, and they become problems. That could be the same thing, with a battery. Moisture will eventually get everywhere, even if you have a seal, and you run it through temperature differentials, and things could happen. So I don't think I'm all that concerned as long as I didn't put it in a place where it could actually get flooded. And you really don't want to flood it anyway because there's a lot of power across these. Okay, again, it's magnetic. It's steel. I was hoping there was a chance because nobody really specifies that they use steel. They just say metal. You know, could have been stainless. People paint stainless, powder coated at least, and this is powder coated, I think. It could have been aluminum, but nope, it's steel. The battery is absolutely nondescript in every other side, so we'll look at this side. And what do we have here? We got some really nice handles. They're just nice. They fold up, they pop out. It's easy to lift it, you know, up that way. It had two of these little covers. The black one that came on that side was totally crushed during shipping, like really crushed, little tiny pieces, which is strange because this one's very tough. But anyway, it just got shipped to me and it got damaged. I don't know if that's telling or not. It certainly doesn't affect how the battery functions, but it is kind of nice if you wanted to have this covered up. Battery can be used standing up, which is probably most likely for most people, but you could lay it on its side and stack them up. They come with these little brackets that you can bolt onto the side and bolt it into the floor or into a wall if it's standing up. Kind of a rack mount, you know, got that look to it. If you wanted to hook a bunch of them together, of course you would, you know, do that. Has a big shutoff switch, and the shutoff switch just takes the big wires that are going to here and goes here first to break them. So you hit this, and now you can do maintenance, totally cold, no problem. A lot of people like switches on their batteries, and might not have it right on the battery. These aren't the greatest switches in the world, but I've used this very switch on Temptress and it's held up fine. I really haven't had trouble with it. You know, I feel better about a big Cole Hersey switch, but you know, different price. If this ever were to fail, it's trivial to just go inside by taking these 10 screws off, lift the top off, pull the wires off it, pull the wires that are going here off it, move those wires to here, and then just disable the switch. So I always want to think about failure modes. And, you know, one more thing. Switches also will cause a little bit of voltage drop, so that's an issue, but it's a big switch. I think it'll be fine. Okay, we got some other electronics here. They have a CAN bus connection. You know, your waterproof, well, I don't even know what's waterproof. Anyway, it's an Ethernet connection, and you can use that to hook it to the Victron and Victron type inverter chargers and such. Then this battery can say, hey, I'm fully charged, slow down, stop charging me. And that's good because the Victron really doesn't know when lithium's fully charged. But it's stupid because this guy also doesn't know when he's fully charged. The BMS in here is no smarter than any other BMS, and it will just let you overcharge it. If you want to keep the lithium iron phosphate cells reliably running for as long as possible, you need something that actually knows when they're fully charged. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen nothing else but my little product here, the Bank Manager, for that. And that also lets you mix this battery in with lead batteries. So just to finish the idea, if you're putting this into an RV and the RV already has a lead-based system, like most of them do, particularly if it's an RV with an engine or connected through the trailer to the alternator of your engine, that alternator only knows how to charge lead batteries. And all your equipment and other chargers really only know about lead. This guy lets you mix lead and lithium. So you could just drop one of these and one of these into your rig, and then you get all of that power available. I've done it many times. It makes life better, like real fast. Okay, let's go through the other pins. This guy is for doing a little parallel trick, and there's cables. Well, there's cables for both of these things. So you could put two of these batteries together through this deal. If you're doing the Victron trick, and I think you need to do that only so you can do the Victron trick. The Victron trick has real limitations. You can't put two batteries in parallel. You can put two in series and do that trick, so you can go to 24 volts, but you can't go to 48 volts. And like I said, I think the trick is kind of a silly idea. but that's what that's for. And then the final one is for this. And this is a nice little display. You know, percent of charge, a little bar. It'll tell you the amps going in, the voltage, and the temperature inside the battery. You know, what you need day to day. This display is peculiar in one way. I'm pretty convinced it's not picking up any data over this wire at all. The wire is just powering the display. And why I say that is I have another Zhaozang battery in this room. It's 48 volt. And I've had this come up showing 48 volts and the stats of the other battery. It's not even connected to. How you have to mess with the display is you have to bring up the app. You can either make the app connect to the battery's BMS directly. And by the way, the battery has a good range on its BMS, even though it's in a metal case. I was surprised, but I can be way at the other end of my house. It works fine. And I can't say that for all the other batteries. So you either tell it to go to the battery, and I get to see this battery, and of course I get to see the 48 volt one too, and I choose the right battery, or you can choose monitor, and then you get to see this monitor. It was confusing for me at first, but it makes sense. So if I connect to this monitor, then I can tell the monitor to connect to either this battery or that battery. So you get the idea. The monitor will work with basically any Zhaozang battery you have around, but you would need your phone to change gears, as it were. This is one of the cheaper BMSs out there, and I find it excellent. I mean, I don't just find it good. I would rather have this BMS than the one that Epoch or any of the expensive battery companies is putting in right now. It does exactly what it should do. It doesn't try to do any more than it should do, but most importantly, the app, the display on the app gives you all the information you need to do what you need to do. And none of the high-end ones are doing that right now. In fact, if I had to choose and someone just gave it to me for my own use right now, Clark, do you want to use this 320 or do you want to use the best offering that Epoch, just because it's expensive, it's over $2,000, has to offer? Which one do you want to put in your camper? This one. It's just plain better. It can balance itself and it will balance itself quickly. More about that in a second. And it doesn't try to do anything that it shouldn't be doing. So I got this on my bench. First thing I did, hooked it to the bank manager, charged it up great, no problem. Then I disconnected the bank manager, went right to the power supplies and overcharged it so I could take a look at its state of balance. And like every battery you get now, it was out of balance. But, you know, it wasn't like wildly out of balance, but it was goodly out of balance. So I go, oh God, I got to put up with this again, because what's been happening lately, and again, I'm going to keep harping on those high-end batteries because they're not doing this any better. They ship it with a BMS that balances incredibly slowly. And that might have been okay when they were selling 100 amp hour batteries with that BMS. But now that they're putting them in 3 and 400 amp hour batteries, it's 3 and 4 times slower. Bigger battery, same rate of balance, takes longer. Now this one, I charged it up. I saw that the little insignia came on saying balancing, which it does at just about the perfect voltages. Charged it up, let go of it. Saw that the little insignia stayed on. I said, well, I'm going to wait till it turns off. Let me try to figure out how it turns on and off. It seems to stay on as long as the cells are more than 0.015 volts between the highest one and the lowest one. And it stays on, well, basically until that happens. It's probably a lower total voltage or something, but it doesn't matter because when the voltage comes down, they're all going to look balanced. Every battery looks balanced at a normal operating voltage. So I waited, it's like 24 hours, and then it finally stopped balancing. I charged it up to get, to see how improved it was. Went right to the top again. It was greatly improved. I'll put up the cards. Did it, I think, 3 or 4 times total. Last couple times I didn't come up to high voltage, and it came right into balance. So I took some power out of it, brought it well down, used the bank manager to take it to what the bank manager decides is 100%, as I always do. And then I hooked it up to a calibrated discharge device and let it crank. My device isn't that big, and this is a big battery, so it took 24 hours, and it went down to 329.14 amp hours. I mean, that's what came out of it before it shut itself down. So we paid for 320 amp hours, got 329, can't complain there. Charged it back up with the bank manager. I am not going to do what I normally do, which is to hit it with a lot of amps and see if anything gets hot, because I looked inside and really looked at it and everything's up to snuff. The negative side has 3 6-gauge wires. The positive side has 2 larger wires. It's kind of what you expect for a battery that can put out this number of amps. I should go into that now. The limitations on this. The BMS will put out 250 amps maximum continuous. It's a good number. Sometimes it's nice to see 1C because that's kind of a good number too, but the other thing is what you really need. And I think if you're going to draw more than 250 amps continuous, you're probably not going to want one of these. You're probably going to want 2 of these, and then you'd have 500. And geez, 500 amps at 12 volts. If you need more than that, you probably should be running a 48 volt system because that's big. It will put out more than that for a little while, like they always do. It'll put out 300 amps for 3 seconds. Not that far from the 250 number, but you know, might get a motor started off your inverter. You know, if you have a big circular saw or something. I know that was always my problem. The cells, they say, are grade A cells that are rated for 2C, which would mean they could dump out like 600 amps, the cells themselves. But that's unimportant because the BMS has its limitations added on. They claim 5,000 cycles. I don't even put any value at all in that kind of claim from China. I think the marketers just put a number a little bigger than the last guy's number. So I think they're as good as any cells we're going to get. I don't think cells really matter for us that much. We are not making an electric truck to go up a hill. We're building a system that will slowly charge off solar or whatever. Even if you're charging off your engine with a big-ish alternator, you're still not charging fast compared to what these cells could take. So, you know, that doesn't really matter for us. And we want these batteries to last more than an hour. We don't want to just slam them. If we wanted that much power out of them, like we're going to run air conditioning all night, we need multiple of the batteries. So what I'm getting at is this highest rated battery. Don't pay for something that's probably an empty claim, but second off, just doesn't matter. As long as they last a long time, as long as the BMS is good, they have a good personality, you're going to get along with them. I should have said it earlier, the dimensions, because that matters. This guy is 14.2 inches by 13 inches by 6.3 inches. And I'll put the weight up. I didn't write it down, but it's a hefty guy. It's kind of heavy. Oh, and it comes with a silly manual that doesn't say anything, but another manual that is unique. It's not Chinglish at all. In fact, it's half in English and half in German. So I don't know the history of it, but it's well worth reading if you don't know how batteries work. It's well worth reading if you don't know how this battery works. I read through it, of course, I always do. It's got all the specifications you need, gives you all the clues in how lithium should be treated, and good on them, because some of the manuals that come are just not readable. So I like it. For the price, I really like it. You know, $479, we get over 300 amp hours. You know, if we're going to compare, in my head, I always compare to 100 amp hour batteries. So this would be like, I don't know, what, like $140 for a 100 amp hour battery. Usually when it's more battery in one case, which is better for all purposes, it usually costs more per amp hour. And this guy would be, per amp hour, one of the cheapest batteries out there. This PUP company has another offering. It is 330 amp hours. so it's probably different cells than this. It's in the normal plastic case, a small one for $330. And that might be more appropriate for boats. I can see from the pictures, because here's how you tell, by the way. This Zhaozang BMS that I quite like has a very distinctive look to it. So if you wanted to go shopping for a battery and you don't want to buy this for whatever reason, go to the ad for this, take a look at the picture of the cell phone in the Zhaozang app. Don't worry about the color, because sometimes it's gold, sometimes it's blue, usually it's blue, sometimes it's multicolor. I think that's the marketing guys trying to make it stand out. They don't need to make it stand out. That is my sign that it's the best one. So you find another ad with another phone with the same image in it, and if you get that one, you probably are getting this good BMS. I like it. Oh, and I didn't say it, should have said it. It has cold weather protection. It's digital, so there's no real need for me to test that, as it were. I can see that the app is putting out the correct temperatures, and who would write an app that, you know, is reading a digital thermometer and didn't shut down at exactly the right number? Digital's all about exact. Okay, let's go down the leaderboard categories and see how it stacks up. Capacity, 329. We only bought 320. That's excellent. Cells, I don't see any problem with them. I thought cells would be a big deal, and I've just changed my mind over time. I don't think it matters as much. Yeah, they'll get a high score there. I'm sure they're fine cells. Build quality, yeah, excellent. For what it is, it's like everything you would want it to be, right? I love the handles, and I like the idea of the switch, especially since I could defeat it if it ever failed. Also, you could replace it if it ever failed. This is available on eBay and Amazon. I don't know if I'd put it in a boat, but honestly, I think I probably would, because I would spray it with some Bow Shield and put it in a boat. I would do it partly because lately I haven't reviewed a reasonably priced battery I like this well, and I haven't reviewed a battery of high-end, expensive, that I like this well. So if this is the only information I had, I might put this right in a boat. But I'm hoping the other PUP batteries that are in plastic cases are just as good, so probably they are. Case, I've kind of already talked about case. Excellent case, love it. Company, you know, it's a Chinese company. They might respond to you, they might not. Why don't you tell me, please, in the comments, if you've ever bought one of these PUP batteries, tell me. I know a lot of people that bought the LFS can't reach them at all anymore when they have problems. So maybe that company is kind of pulled back from the idea of being a battery distributor, and they're just making batteries for other companies. But tell me, I haven't really heard anything bad from PUP, so it's probably okay. And cost to value. Under 500 bucks, over 300 amp hours, and everything is just what I want. Excellent. Well, that's my review. It just feels good to find a battery I like. I was honestly really kind of feeling dismal about what's available right now. When the cells and batteries got bigger and none of the BMSs were coming up to the needs of those, particularly when they weren't even giving you an indicator when they're balancing, so you didn't know. I'm diving in. I've spent so much time on some of the reviews of these batteries you can't see off camera that you probably won't see reviews because they are crap. And then this came along. I expected nothing. I just wanted to know what the case was made out of. And I'm really happy with it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. Like always, if you go down into the description, you can click on my leaderboard, and that will give you a link to like a spreadsheet with all the information on all the batteries I reviewed, so you can kind of look at them all. You'll have to check the prices because that's changing all the time. I also give you the links to the best price I could find on them. If you like these review videos, please hit the like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really does help my channel, and it also makes me feel great. So thanks, and bye from Clark on Temptress.